class. In this video, we're going to be looking at displaying and describing categorical distributions. The learning intention of this video is for us to explore different ways to display and organize categorical data. When we're collecting large amounts of data, it's really important for us to organize these data in a meaningful way so that we can actually make sense of it. For instance, if I was conducting a survey and asking all the students from our school what pets do they have, I could collate these categorical data and display them in a visual way that helps me make sense of the data. One of the ways that I could visually display my categorical data is by inputting them into a frequency table, so something like this. Another way for me to display the categorical data is by using a bar graph, also known as a column graph. So it looks something similar to this, where you've got gaps in between each of the bars. Alternatively, I could also visually display the categorical data in the form of a pie chart. In this video, we're going to concentrate how to display data using a frequency table and a bar graph. So frequency tables can be used to organize and display both categorical and numerical data. It helps us to condense and transforms the raw categorical data in a more usable way so that we can make interpretations more easily. The general format of a frequency table looks something similar to this. For categorical data, we will place the variable over here and list down all of its responses in this particular column. Under this column over here, we record the frequency or the tally for that particular response, and this particular column over here calculates the percentage in which it occurs. To calculate percentage frequency, you're going to be using the following formula over here, where it can be found by obtaining the frequency and dividing it by the total number of responses and multiplying that by 100. So let's look at one particular example. In this example, you are surveying 30 children and they are selecting between 3 options for their lunch choice. Let's now complete the frequency table. So in this cell over here, I'm going to put down the variable. So in this case, the variable is talking about lunch choices. And for these cells over here, I'm going to input the 3 different responses. So sandwich, salad, and pie. In this case, we've surveyed 30 children, so the total number of responses should be equal to 30. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to analyze the data set and count how many times sandwich, salad, and pie has appeared. So sandwiches have appeared 7 times, salad has appeared 10 times, and pie has appeared 13 times, and it should add up to 30, which in this case it does. To calculate the percentage frequency, we're going to be using the following formula down over here. So to calculate the percentage frequency for sandwich, we're going to go 7 divided by 30 multiplied by 100, and you should get an answer of 23.3% if you round it to 1 decimal place. To calculate the percentage frequency for salad, we'll go 10 divided by 30 multiplied by 100, and you should get 33.3%. And lastly, for pie, we will go 13 divided by 30 multiplied by 100, and you should get an answer of 43.3%. So therefore, if we add up these percentages, you're going to get an answer of 99.9%. Normally, this value here should be equal to 100%. However, because we rounded up our answers and each of these 3s are reoccurring, this is the reason why we couldn't get to 100%. Let's now talk about bar graphs. Bar graphs, also referred to as column graphs, uses columns to represent each category of data. In a bar graph, each of the categories are displayed on the horizontal axis of the bar graph, meanwhile the frequency is displayed on the vertical axis. You'll also notice that in a bar graph, you'll often have gaps in between each of the columns or each of the categories, just to show that each category is distinct from one another. Furthermore, bar graphs are different from histograms, which display numerical data, and this is what students often mix them up with. On the right hand side, I've got an example of a histogram. Notice that in both examples, they use bars to represent the data. However, one of the main differences is that a bar graph will always have gaps in between each of the bars, whereas a histogram would tend to not have gaps given that there are no missing values in between the number ranges. The second main difference is that a bar graph displays categorical data, whereas a histogram displays numerical data. In order for us to construct our bar graph, it's important for us to organize the information in a frequency table first. So using the same example from earlier on, what I'll do is I'll display this information here in the x-axis and this information over here in the y-axis. So therefore your answer is going to look like this. One thing that I would like to add when drawing our bar graphs is that we typically like to draw the most common response or the most common category first from tallest to smallest, as you can see by this trend over here, as this allows us to interpret the data more readily. Alternatively, when you're drawing your bar graph, you could have also displayed this using the frequency percentage instead as your vertical axis. So you may also draw the bar graph for this data set like this as well. The last thing I want to talk about in this video are the measures of centers. So the measures of centers, if you recall, includes the mean, the median, and the mode. Because we're talking about categorical data in this video, The mode is going to be used for us to find out what is the most typical or the most common category. In contrast, we can't find out what is a mean or median because this involves using numerical data. So for us to find out what is the mode or the modal category, we simply need to find out what is the category with the greatest frequency, or alternatively look for the one with the tallest bar. So you could find this information in both the frequency table as well as the bar graph. So in this case over here, that has the largest frequency. So pi is the modal category. And as I said, you can find this by identifying the tallest peak as well. I'd now like you to have a go at identifying which of the following graphs is an example of a bar graph. If you answer this question correctly, it's going to be option C, as option C displays categorical data and you can see that there are gaps in between each of the bars. For the next question, I want you to complete the missing parts of the table. So to answer this question, we should first find out what is the total, as this will allow us to calculate what is the percentage frequency. So to calculate the total, we'll add up the following values over here, and so therefore the total is going to equal to 1932. And to calculate the percentage frequency, we will just simply need to divide each of these numbers over here by the total and multiply by 100. So therefore this is going to be your answer, and all of these values should equal to 100%, which in this case it does. Have a go with one more question and identify which of the following statements is correct. For this question, it's talking about measures of centers, and remember that we can only find out what is the mode for categorical data. So as a result of that, option B is going to be the correct option, as the most common response is important. What I'd like you to do now to get further practice is to answer all questions from exercise 2B. This is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye.